Welcome to another video, family. Today we're going to be discussing the conspiracy against true Israel started thousands of years ago. Okay, and I'm going to be talking about the mainly three times in history where this conspiracy makes itself plainly seen. Okay, it begins with the scripture, and I'm going to read some scripture that it pertains to right now. By the way, one of these scriptures has been broken, and we're in the process of revealing the other. Okay, Psalms 83, that curse is being slowly broken, where it talks about crafty counsel was being taken against us, true Israel. That crafty counsel was the whole U.S. Congress, both the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. Okay, also it talks about the 3/5 compromise. We know that's 666 because 3/5 is 0.6. And if you look at the three times that the 3/5 number corresponds to us, it's three times, so that's 666. Okay, where they regarded us as 3/5 of a human being and not as Israelites. Okay. The second scripture I want to address is Exodus 1 and 10. And I'm reading from the King James Version where it says, Come on, let us deal wisely. Wisely as people that can see in the dark, or the left-hand path, Luciferianism. Let us deal wisely with them, true Israel, lest they multiply. How did they deal with our multiplication? Abortion, the LGBTQ agenda, drugs, poverty, wars, etc. Lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, and any war can mean any war, foreign or domestic, or any internal disturbances, they join also with our enemies and fight against us. And here's the most important part. And so get them up out of the land. And what does that mean? It means they fear our true Israel leaving the so-called United States of America, where we leave our captivity. And with that leaving the United States, we take our blessings of Yah with us. Okay. And I'm going to read some very important passages before Exodus 1 and 10. Let's start with 8. Exodus 1 and 8, where it says, a new king arose up over Egypt. Okay, in today's day, that new king would be Esau, represented by the Jesuit Pope and the Jesuit order. Okay, the infallibility of the Pope, where he has the civil and religious rulership. Okay, that's the new king. So Exodus 1 and 8, a new king arose up over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. 9, he said to Egypt, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. So that statement right there to me lets us know that even though the U.S. Census says that we're only 45 or 50 million people in the United States, I believe at this point we're approaching more of a majority. Okay. And also they're trying to prevent a majority that's supposed to be taking place in 2040. So also they're going to be trying to prevent this prophecy, trying to avoid this prophecy of us being a majority by 2040. Okay. Now let's jump to Exodus 1:11. So therefore that's the papacy, this new king, the Pope, they did set over them, the true Israelites, taskmasters. That's your oligarchy. That's your children of Cain, your Aryan Germanics, the majority Anglo-Saxon bloodlines of America. Okay, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. Okay, so yes, we did. Our ancestors did build all of these major cities in the so-called United States, including the White House in Washington, D.C. Okay, Exodus 1 and 14. Uh, they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, these taskmasters. Okay, these oligarchs. Okay, children of Cain. Okay, they made their lives bitter with hard bondage and all manner of service in the field. So they had our peoples working in the fields, picking cotton, picking tobacco, sugar cane, and many other things. Okay, and also Exodus 1 and 16, uh, the new king, this Pharaoh, which is represented by the Jesuit Pope today, he said to all the Hebrew midwives, all of the Israelite midwives, to kill all the sons, that means all the males, and spare the daughters, or spare the females. And today, how did they overcome this thing where they don't even have to deal with the Israelite midwives? This is why they came up with abortions. Okay, they bypassed having to deal with our midwives, and they passed these abortion laws where it is estimated that we, through abortion, something about 20 million Israelite babies have been aborted. Okay, so with let's go on now and let's discuss some other things. Okay, what we're basically looking at now is controlled opposition of Esau. Once again, Esau is represented by the Vatican, the Jesuit Pope, and the Jesuit Order. Okay, this controlled opposition really started at the inception of the United States when they created the nation. This is why they came up with the 3/5 compromise. And what the 3/5 compromise did was give the Confederate South, okay, the slavocracy, the oligarchs, uh, it gave them control uh, of the U.S. government, Congress, and the Electoral College. Okay, so I'm just going to read down this list that I have of how this is controlled opposition, and really there is no real division between the children of Cain and Esau. They're both basically on the same side. Okay, so we know that in the Civil War, the South lost, right? But after the Civil War, the so-called North allowed uh, the Southern Confederacy to keep their land. It allowed them to end Reconstruction and to retake control of the U.S. government and to oppress the so-called Negroes. Okay, but what the Civil War also did was it brought them under Esau's rule and control, because this is why they call themselves Protestants. They're protesting the fact that Esau, Rome, is controlling them, and they are the children of Cain, the so-called Aryan Germanics, the Anglo-Saxon majority of America. Okay. So this Esau agent General Sherman, which was a Roman Catholic, he smashed the Southern Confederacy, but he allowed them to keep all of their land and their resources. So this is what we're seeing today with this so-called invasion of the U.S. Capitol by these so-called Aryan Germanic Trump followers. Okay, they're really basically fighting over who's going to. Well, they're fighting to keep the right in order to oppress the so-called Negro and to keep on doing all of the dirty, nasty things that they've been doing. Okay, Now, both groups, the so-called Democrats and the Republicans, both of them, um, both of them are allied against true Israel. The only difference is that Esau, the Jesuit order, the papacy, they're the fox, okay, and their job is to devour or eat souls, eat the souls of our people, okay, through demonic possession, uh, and eventually through taking that person's soul. So they're the fox. Now the wolf is these Aryan Germanics, the children of Cain, the first cannibals. Okay, they want to consume our flesh and eat our blood. Okay, this is where all of this human trafficking and organ trafficking and all of these satanic things that are going on uh, underneath these cities. Okay, this explains why they're doing these things, because both groups are satanic in origin, and they're both actually allied against us. Okay. Now, one thing real quick I want to talk about is that when Donald Trump won, you had uh, Barack Obama as president going to the Arctic. Then you had his Secretary of State, another Democrat, John Kerry, going to Antarctica. What were they doing? They were going. They were parlaying, or there was a diplomatic parlay to the underworld, because Antarctica is the underworld entrance beneath the surface of this plane. Okay, Arctic is the one side, and Antarctica is the other side. Okay, there's two entrances. So they were parlaying, and Underworld was letting the Democrats know that they were about to loose the dogs of war, which are the children of Cain. Okay, the Aryan Germanics. They were about to loose them on, and this is why Donald Trump was able to win and do what he did in those 4 years. Okay. Another thing, real quick. After the U.S. Civil War, the wealth was in the South. It was because the economy was agricultural, but the Vatican, okay, the papacy had plans on transferring that wealth from the South to the North. Okay, and the only way they could do that is through war. Okay, and so because the North is where the industrial and the banking establishments were, and building the railroads and things of that nature. So the South was on its way out, and the papacy was controlling the North and needed that wealth and all of those development to go from the South to the North. Okay, but one thing, after the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln was murdered, and it was found out that the Vatican, or the Holy See, was behind his murder. And so they discontinued diplomatic relations with the Holy See because they were involved in the U.S. President Abe Lincoln's assassination in 1865. And this diplomacy was broken until they forced Ronald Reagan to reopen ties with the Holy See in the 1980s after he received a bullet or warning. They had originally planned to kill Reagan and put their agent, the Skull and Bonesman, the Germanic Anglo-Saxon Vice President George Herbert Walker Bush, in as president. Okay, but Reagan took the bullet, but he didn't die. But what he did do was he reopened diplomatic relations and ties with the Holy See. Okay. I know that's a lot of information, and I was moving kind of quickly, but I needed to get all of this information in. So with that, I'm going to say, I missed one other thing. The children of Cain, which is represented by the Aryan Germanics, the Anglo-Saxon majority, and also KKK, white supremacist militia groups, the police forces. The children of Cain, they were always the enforcement arm and foot soldiers or pawns of Esau of Rome or Sephardim, and Rome's Ashkenazim or Rothschild cabal money managers and Halfhuden or court servants were always allied against true Israel. Okay, and this is why they allowed the Southern Confederacy or the Slavocracy after Reconstruction to set up their black codes, their Jim Crow laws, and all of the other things that they instituted. So hopefully that explains this whole controlled opposition thing that's going on, where Esau or Rome is controlling both sides, and they're all allied against true Israel, which is called Negroes and colored and African Americans today. With that, have a nice day. Shalom.